Everything I'm about to tell you is exactly what happened to me 3 years ago. I haven't told many people this story, but I feel like it's time. I need to get it out there. It was late autumn, and I was hiking deep in a remote part of northern Minnesota. I love the outdoors, always have, and I'm experienced. I like to get off the beaten path, away from the marked trails and the weekend crowds. I'd been out for hours, just soaking in the silence and the raw beauty of the forest. The air was crisp, the leaves were a carpet of red and gold, and everything felt peaceful, too peaceful maybe. At some point, I realized I wasn't entirely sure of my direction. It happens, you get turned around. I wasn't panicked, just a little annoyed with myself. I stopped to pull out my compass and get my bearings, and that's when I heard it for the first time, a rustling in the underbrush behind me. Not a squirrel, not a bird. It was heavier. I told myself it was probably a deer, and started walking again, a bit more purposefully this time. But the sound didn't stop. It kept pace with me. When I walked faster, the rustling sped up. When I slowed down, it slowed down too. A cold knot started to form in my stomach. This wasn't a deer. Deer are skittish. They bolt. This was something different. Something was stalking me. I kept glancing over my shoulder, but the woods were dense. I couldn't see a thing. The sun was getting lower, casting long, distorted shadows through the trees, and the forest that had felt so beautiful just an hour ago now felt menacing. I decided to pick up my pace, breaking into a light jog. The rustling behind me turned into the distinct sound of paws, multiple sets of paws, pounding on the forest floor. My heart hammered against my ribs. I knew what it was before I even saw them: wolves. I burst into a small, natural clearing and spun around, my back against a large pine tree, and there they were, a pack, maybe 7 or 8 of them, emerging from the trees, fanning out to encircle me. They were bigger than I'd imagined, all muscle and matted fur, with eyes that glowed with a terrifying, cold intelligence. They didn't growl, they didn't snarl, they just watched me, their heads low, their bodies tense. I was completely surrounded. I knew this was it. There was no way I was getting out of this. I fumbled for my knife, but I knew it was a useless gesture. It was over. I stood there, frozen, waiting for the first one to lunge. And then, the strangest thing happened. In an instant, every single wolf froze. It was like a switch had been flipped. One moment they were predators ready to tear me apart, and the next, they were statues. Their heads all snapped in the same direction, not at me, but deeper into the woods behind them. The fur on their backs stood on end. A low, almost inaudible whine escaped from one of them, and then, as one, they scattered. They didn't just run, they fled, yelping in what sounded like pure terror, crashing through the trees and disappearing as quickly as they had appeared. The clearing was silent, so silent it was deafening. My own ragged breathing was the only sound. What could possibly scare a pack of hungry wolves? What were they so terrified of? My survival instinct was screaming at me to run in the opposite direction, to get out of there as fast as my legs could carry me. But a morbid, overpowering curiosity took hold. I had to know. I had to see what was in those woods. Slowly, cautiously, I started walking in the direction the wolves had stared, toward whatever had saved my life. I pushed through a thicket of tangled branches and stepped into another clearing, and what I saw, it made the blood run cold in my veins. This wasn't a natural clearing. It was deliberately made. Strange geometric symbols were carved into the trunks of the surrounding trees. From the branches hung bizarre constructions of bone and twine, animal skulls tied together with sinew, twisting slowly in a non-existent breeze. Piles of smooth, dark stones were stacked into unnatural, precarious towers, and in the center of it all was a jumble of twisted, rusted metal, like the remains of some ancient, mangled machine. It felt wrong. It felt like a violation of the natural world, a sacred, quiet place that had been desecrated. But the most disturbing thing, the thing that is burned into my memory, was floating in the air right in the middle of the clearing. It was a cloud of thick, black smoke, but it wasn't rising or dissipating like normal smoke. It was just hanging there, perfectly still, like a solid three-dimensional object suspended in space. It didn't swirl or drift. It was utterly motionless, absorbing the light around it, a patch of pure darkness against the dying sun. And I couldn't look away. I was mesmerized. It felt like it was pulling me in, like it was whispering things just at the edge of my hearing. I felt a profound sense of dread, a feeling that I was looking at something ancient and evil, something that shouldn't exist in our world. I don't know how long I stood there staring into that black smoke. It could have been seconds. It could have been minutes. Time seemed to stop. Then, a primal fear, colder and deeper than the fear of the wolves, finally broke the spell. I tore my eyes away, turned, and just ran. I didn't look back. I crashed through the forest, branches whipping at my face, not caring about direction, just needing to put as much distance as possible between me and that clearing. Here's the part that really haunts me. My memory of that run is a complete blur. It's not just fuzzy. It's gone. There are huge gaps. I remember running, the feeling of panic, but the actual journey back, the hours it must have taken me to find my way out of those woods, it's a black hole in my mind. The next thing I clearly remember is stumbling out of the tree line and seeing my car parked on the remote dirt road. It was completely dark. The sun had set long ago. I fumbled with my keys, my hands shaking uncontrollably, threw myself inside, and locked the doors. I just sat there for a minute, hyperventilating, trying to process what had just happened. Then I slammed the car into drive and sped away, not looking back. I never reported it. Who would I tell? The police? The Forest Service? What would I even say? That a pack of wolves got scared away by a spooky art installation and a floating cloud of smoke. They would have thought I was crazy or on drugs. I just drove. I drove all night until I was hundreds of miles away. For weeks I had nightmares, not about the wolves, but about that clearing, about the symbols, the bones, and that unmoving black smoke. But the part that truly gets under my skin, the part that keeps me up at night, even now, 3 years later, is the missing time, the memory loss. What happened during those hours I can't remember. Why can't I remember how I got back to my car? It feels like something was taken from me in that forest, a piece of my mind that I'll never get back. And I can't shake the feeling that whatever was in that clearing, whatever scared those wolves, did something to me. And I have no idea what it was. Thanks for listening to my story. It feels good to finally say it all out loud. If you have any similar experiences or thoughts on what I saw, please share them in the comments below. And if you're interested in more strange and unexplained stories, make sure to subscribe. Stay safe out there.